There's a really solid chance that Loki is going to be the best Marvel series to ever drop on Disney+.
Glorious.
It has action, time travel, a unique style, what looks like a ton of twists, and one star that pretty much guarantees it will be an instant success. Owen Wilson. $20 says he says, wow, at least 3 times an episode.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Just kidding. I'm talking about Tom Hiddleston's infinitely watchable take on the god of mischief, Loki. From the looks of it, this series will push him farther than ever before, maybe even introducing more than one Loki. Loki has probably the biggest character arc of any villain in the MCU. Now that's mostly because 90% of MCU villains get obliterated in their first film before the credits roll. In the first Thor, he was mainly depicted as Thor's jealous and damaged younger brother who was lashing out against his family in about the most violent way possible. The Avengers saw Loki up the ante on his supervillain status by pulling a Hannibal Lecter master manipulator routine in the first half that led to an alien conqueror bit in the end. Though it seems like some of that carnage may have been due to Thanos' mind control or at the very least aggressive supervillain peer pressure. Loki was then recast as Thor's sidekick in the Dark World before he faked another Shakespearean ending for himself that led to him finally usurping his father's throne. When we catch up with him in Ragnarok, the throne appears to have bored him. He ends his character arc accepting himself as a god, more content with mischief than conquest. Then Thanos ended it all by strangling Loki in Infinity War, permanently ending the Loki story once and for all. Well, until Endgame, that is. The new show will see Loki pulled out of his own character arc at the full-blown Conqueror section due to some Avengers time travel shenanigans. Loki breaks the established timeline by using the Tesseract to escape the imprisonment he'd see in the Dark World. Only, it seems like he didn't escape that imprisonment very long. Within the opening moments of the new Loki series, it appears that Loki will be captured by a shady, time-traveling organization known as the Time Variance Authority. They explain that Loki's timeline-breaking prison break has created a variant timeline. He then gets forcibly inducted into the organization so that he can fix the problems he created. Now, putting aside Loki's possible story arcs for a second, there's an important thing we need to figure out first. What in the world is this show going to be? I mean, the trailers for this thing shows Loki fighting through the 9 realms, battling some evil force in what looks to be a Roxxon gas station, and Loki posing as DB Cooper in his famous 1971 flight. So, how can one show possibly be all of these things at once? Well, I think I can explain exactly what the show will be like using the show I think it will be closest to, Doctor Who. The long-running BBC series about a time-traveling alien manages to hop seamlessly between historical action, sci-fi fantasy, and stories grounded in the present. For Loki, this could include everything from the ancient history of Asgard, Loki messing with human history, and maybe even a Black Widow reunion. While it's easy to sell pretty much anyone on a time travel series with Tom Hiddleston's Loki, after the first 2 trailers, I'm just as sold on a series about Wilson's Mobius M. Mobius and the Time Variance Authority. The TVA is an organization that exists in something called null time, that exists outside the main timeline. They are often represented by their agent Mobius. In the comics, Mobius and the TVA tangled with the likes of the Fantastic Four and Kang for their crimes against the timeline. The series seems to be putting a more villainous edge on the organization, though. From the 3-headed statue that could be a nod to the Living Tribunal to the sinister bureaucratic tone that is heavily reminiscent of the Temps Commission from Umbrella Academy, the TVA could end up as the main antagonist for the series. But I think every MCU fan of the internet already knows who's running things at the TVA. Mephisto. While the TVA obviously has a big focus in the series, it's safe to say that the main spotlight's gonna be on Loki himself. While Thor is the more notable comic book character, Loki has quite a bit of lore to pull from. Most notably, there are actually several different versions of Loki who have appeared over the years. From the secret casting of the series, I think it's clear that we'll be seeing as many variations on Loki as they can fit into one season of television. Most notably, there was a period of time where all of the Asgardians took a human form after Ragnarok in Avengers Disassembled. Loki took on a form meant for Sif and chose to keep it well after her identity was revealed. While this version of the character was dubbed as Lady Loki, it's important to note that unlike the female Jane Foster Thor, this Loki was every bit the same Loki we knew for years before. So obviously this fascinating and potentially important take on the character has been something fans have wanted to see in the MCU for years. Judging from set photos of Sofia DiMartino, I think chances are high we're going to see this in Loki's first season. There are also variations of Loki that are much more heroic and much more villainous than the notorious gray mainstream one. The Kid Loki of the Young Avengers was a reincarnated god of mischief who wanted to make up for his previous life's sins. In stark contrast, the ancient Loki from the far future totally accepted his role as the god of evil. Young actor Jack Veal is rumored for Kid Loki, while veteran actor Richard E. Grant looks like the perfect choice for an evil Tom Hiddleston. So, how much Loki can the Loki series possibly handle? Well, the answer appears to be as much as humanly possible.
Wow.
These shows like to set up characters to appear in later MCU projects. That means there's a chance we might finally see Beta Ray Bill? What better place to introduce one of the strangest Thor characters in the strangest Thor franchise?